Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I thought today it was high time for me to get back to my poor little half-finished dolls. These little very simple fabric jointed dolls. There are 2 or 3 other videos in this series already. I will link to the playlist where you can find them. I've put a template to make the basic doll free to download on Gumroad, and I've put patterns for the let me take to the desk, it'll be easier to explain. I've put already a pattern for the tops and dresses, so it's a very simple, very simple pattern, no instructions. You just download it and print it off at home, and or take it to your local Staples or whatever to get it printed. And if you print it out on A4 or letter paper, it should the doll template will give you a roughly 15 centimetre 16 centimetre doll, something like that, and the clothes should fit her. You can use the same tops and dresses pattern to make all of the clothes that I've shown here and a lot more. Obviously you could make little short jackets, cardigans, you could turn the bodice part the other way round and make it into a camisole that laces up at the front. You could make it into a more of a masculine shirt. You could turn the dress into like a pinafore. There's so many different ways you could adapt these. It's just giving you the basic shapes so that you can adapt them however you like, and I've gone over that in the previous video, so as I say, I will link to them. I'm still going to come back and do a pattern for bonnet, boots and bloomers. I did find these cute little trainers which fit them quite well, and you can get these, sometimes they call them finger boots and things. If you look on Amazon you can find them. I got 4 pairs for under £10, which I thought was brilliant, but it's not necessarily the style you want. So I am going to do a couple of different shapes of boots, one really basic and one slightly more elaborate. You could also just paint the boots straight onto the feet. I'll go over all of that in the next video. I'll do a bonnet that can also be a hat. I'll do bloomers, which can also be trousers, shorts, knickers, whatever. So I mean, all of the patterns are very adaptable. Free to download from my Gumroad. You just need to make sure that you put 0. You need to enter 0 in the amount and 0 in the donation box to make sure you get them for nothing. But thank you very much to all the generous people who have actually made a donation for these patterns. It's really appreciated. I'm very happy for people to use them, and I love to see what people do with them, but I do really appreciate the donations as well, obviously, so it's very kind of you, thank you. Today's plan, I'm going to put all of this to one side for now, come back and do that in the next video. I'm aiming to finish this project up next week, so today what I want to do is get faces and hair on them, and I'm going to keep it really simple. There are so many videos on YouTube telling you different ways to add dolls' hair. I've picked a couple of my favourites. My friend Gabby of Gabby Chic Dolls shows a couple of ways that she does hair, and she shows this whole how she made this doll, which she sent to me. I was still to bits. Look at her. Look at her. Look at her beautiful painted face. Mine are not going to be as beautiful and artistic as that. I'm going to give you a much simpler version, but how beautiful is that? Anyway, Gabby shows how she created this gorgeous hair for this angel girl, and she shows a couple of different ways that she did it. She shows actually the whole process over 2 videos of making this doll start to finish, so I'll link to Gabby as well. B Henderson was all of this came out of our Pass the Box project, where we're making little dolls to send on to each other. There's a little group of 10 of us here in the UK, just to save postage, to be fair. And B was the first one to kick off, and she sent this doll to me. I've made a doll and sent it to Gabby. But anyway, this is the beautiful little girl that B sent me, and you can see how she's done her hair, a completely different look. Absolutely love this as well, and she's used this wool which she's then unravelled to get this gorgeous crinkly effect. Oh, how lovely is that? I can't actually see, there's so much hair, I can't actually see how she's attached it. It's very dense. So gorgeous, so gorgeous. I love her. Right, let's put you 2 ladies there for a minute. Another way of creating the hair was the way I did the doll that I sent to Gabby, the rainbow chick. Let me just show you some pictures of that. So here we go. Here's some pictures of the doll that I sent to Gabby. And you can see there on that one, I used roving wool, roving or tops felting wool, and I created these ringlets with it. There we go. That's perhaps a better look at the hair. Did I do a close-up of the hair? Sort of. Sort of see there. So some of that is straight, some of it is in these lovely spirals, and I did show how I created those spirals, so I'll link to the little, it's part of a bigger video, so what I'll do is I'll put a link in for that, which will take you straight to that point of that video, so you haven't got to sit all through it. I really enjoyed doing these rainbow spirals, and the way I did that, let's come back to you now. The way I did that was by using the felting wool, and I showed how to do the crinkly, the spirally effective, if you want to have a go at that. Very, very easy. And I just used a felting needle and literally felted that wool into the head. I didn't plan it out, I didn't map everything, I just started stabbing away and made it up as I went along. And yeah, hoping I can repeat that on one of these today, or something like it. I'm going to do it a bit differently because I'm not going to be using felting wool this time. I'm going to be using some of this wool which I've got left over from knitting the gorgeous cardigan I've just finished, not knitting, crocheting. So I've got some of these bits here already and all of this wool, so I think I'm going to use this for their hair because it is so gorgeous, it feels lovely. So I've got a couple of felting needles ready to use. I've got one of these carding brushes which you can use to sort of brush the wool out. So you can take normal wool and turn it in so that it looks almost like doll hair. So it looks more like doll hair. It looks like smooth fibres. I'll show you in a minute. I've got these little buttons on Amazon as well. How gorgeous do they look? Teeny weeny ones. So I need to put some buttons on some of these other outfits. Like these never got their buttons. So I need to do that. I need to finish these. I've got sidetracked by other things. All of this was before Christmas. Yeah, so I need to do that. So I showed in the previous videos, I've shown 2 different ways of making the heads, 2 different ways so that you don't get kind of flop head, you know, like you get on rag dolls and things sometimes. So this one is attached. It is attached inside, but it will swivel like this. She will actually do a full-on poltergeist and swivel 360 degrees, in fact. So I've shown how to do that in the previous video. And then this one, she will tilt her head. You can pose it a little bit. And she's jointed here, and this is stitched all the way through to a button at the back there. So that was a completely different way of doing it. And with this one I made this big comical nose and these sort of indents for eyes. So I'm just going to give her a little mouth and rosy cheeks. That's all I'm going to do with her. I got some tiny doll's eyes, but I just didn't like the look of it. So yeah, I've just decided I'm going to leave it like that. I quite like the look of it like that. She's got a little expression to me. So she will get a little mouth and maybe eyebrows and hair. And this one I'm going to just draw a bit more of a face on. So I'm going to keep it really, really simple. I've just got some pens. I've got Sharpie fine point markers, and the ultra fine point ones are even better for these little detail things. But these are what I've got. And I've also got picked out one of my pigment fine liners. So I think these will be fairly permanent, and just to give a little bit of highlight, I've got my Uniball Signo. So I have got some really fine brushes and acrylic paints and things I could use. I think that was what Gabby used for these. I think it was acrylic paints. So beautiful, so expressive, isn't it, that little face? This face, if you look, that Bee's done, it's lovely and simple. She's done these, I called her Lucy because of the kaleidoscope eyes. So she's layered up buttons for the eyes, which I think is gorgeous, and just done this very simple little mouth shape. And I think Bee's used fine liners there as well by the look of it. So yeah, you don't need to, it can be very, very simple. She's not worried about a nose at all there. I could be safe and pencil this on first, but I'm going to throw caution to the wind and just do this. I could always, if I go really wrong, I could turn the head round and do the other side. Let's hope that's not necessary. So first thing is to think about where the eyes are going to be. So eyes will be halfway down the head. And I'm going to make her eyes perhaps a little wider apart than it would be in real life. Here's my halfway mark. So that is halfway down the face, and it's sort of in the centre of the face that way as well. Let's just pop that in there. I'm going to make my eyes level with that. So they need to be about the same. They each need to be the same distance away from that centre point. So the end of the nose, the bottom of the nose, will come halfway between here, between this centre point and the chin. So it's about there. So that is where the bottom of the nose would go. Don't know if I'm going to bother even indicating a nose. And then halfway between the nose and the chin will come the mouth. So let's put a thing in there. Now these, these are only guidelines. Obviously all faces are different, but if you roughly follow those proportions, you won't be too far away from something that looks reasonably natural. So if I could draw it on here actually. So say this is my little doll's head. Here's my halfway line. Here's my centre line. The eyes will sit kind of there. The nose, the end at the bottom of the nose, will be halfway between this and the chin, and the lips, the centre of the lips, will be halfway between the bottom of the nose and the chin. So if I now to sort of fill out the eyes, you don't usually see the whole of the iris like this. Normally, to look more natural, you'd get the top of it would be sort of cut off. So I'm going to cut that off there. And then give her a bit of an eyelid. Part of the lower lid, I won't draw it all in. I could do some lashes if I like. Could do lashes here as well. And then I will probably leave the nose out and just decide if I need it or not. I might decide I don't need it. And then the hair will attach sort of from here. If I was going to do ears, then the top of the ears should be roughly level with the centre of the eyes there. And the bottom of the ears should be roughly level with the bottom of the nose. So the ears would be kind of there. So you can see that that's not realistic, because it's not a realistic shaped face and stuff. It's still quite whimsical. Also what I've done is set the eyes quite wide apart there, because it tends to look more sort of wide-eyed and innocent, as they say. But like for a normal kind of adult face, this is probably more childlike, normal sort of adult face, you'd aim to have roughly the distance between the eyes is about the same as the length of each eye. So if I drew the same face, so now this space between the eyes is about the same as the length of the eyes. Oops, made them very big though. That gives it a slightly different kind of look. So there will be the nose, here will be the mouth. And you can play with the proportions. I mean, if you want to make her more strange look, you could do a great big smile right across her face. I've done like a comical. We're getting a hideous clown now. So it's one of those things. It's like there we are, clown. It's one of those things. You kind of need to know roughly what the proportions are supposed to be, so that you can play with them and have fun with them, really. Oh, I might do a little clown one now as well. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's go straight in here. You can see already, picking this up again, that I haven't got those quite even. So that was going to be the bottom of the nose, and this is going to be the mouth. Okay, so let's just leave the mouth there. Let's take this out. And I'm just going to start off by putting 2 dots where I've got those pins where I'm going to mark the eyes. That's going to be the easiest thing to do. There we go, that's just left enough of a dot there. Let's just do that so I don't lose that. There we go. That's placed my eyes. I'm going to zoom in now. And a tiny dot here for the lips. I'm not going to do them all in black though, so let's just make sure it's a tiny dot. So I'm going to enlarge that dot, which is now the pupil of the eye. And I've got this turquoise colour, which is the best colour I could find in these Sharpie markers. Now, I'm not going to do the whole, so this is going to be for the iris of the eye. I'm not going to go all the way around though, because I don't want the whole of that round iris to show, because the only thing, when you think about it, your eyes, you don't normally see that. If you look at, a minute, come back up here again. When you look at my eyes now, you can't see, you can see the bottom, not even all of the bottom of my iris. The only way you see that is if I was really surprised. So like if you draw a face like that that shows the whole eye, it can look a bit unnerving. So that's what I'm trying to bear in mind here. So I'm just going to draw my little iris around the pupil, but I'm just going in a kind of upside down horseshoe shape like that. For now. I can always fill in more if I want to. Upside down horseshoe, kind of a U shape. And I'm moving back and forth from one to the other to try and keep them reasonably symmetrical. I think that one. There we go. I might go back in and do some more with that black in a bit, but I'm not going to do it now, because these will dry up pretty quickly because they're alcohol based, but if I put black on that now and it is still damp, it'll just bleed straight out into it. So I'm just going to leave that to dry for a minute. Meanwhile, let's make a little start on the mouth. So I'm not going to use a black line for the mouth. I'm going to use this dark pink. I don't know what colour they call this. Definitely worth experimenting with whatever kind of the finest pens you've got, I would say. Because it's not like these dolls aren't going to be something you're going to wash, but put through the machine or whatever. So I know people sometimes even just use makeup. You can use pigment powders and things to blush their cheeks, but some people just use makeup, you know, and it works fine. So I'm just going to do a small mouth here. Just give her a little bit of a smile, just like that. And then I've got this slightly chunkier. So this is the one, the Sharpie one that they call a fine point, and that other one I just used, it was a ultra fine point. So now I'm going to do just a little bit of fullness on the bottom lip there, just a little blob. It's all just lines and blobs, this. And then a couple of blobs on the top. Just to give her that little smile. I wish I'd not put that black in the middle now. I should have used the pink there. Nothing I can do about it now. I might have to end up putting a bit more black just to make it not look like a... Yeah, just make it look like she's got slightly parted lips. That might work. But again, I'm going to leave that to dry a minute. So now let's get the fine liner, the black fine liner again. And I'm going to carry on with the eyes. So I'm going to start off just doing a line. So as I say, it's all lines and blobs. Just doing a line along the top. I'm resting my finger on here to give me a bit more control. I'm just putting this line across here. Oh, it's gone dry. It's because I left the top off for a minute. Again, let's do the same to both sides at the same time. I mean, no human face is absolutely symmetrical, but you just want the proportions kind of roughly the same. So I've just put 2 straight lines across the top. And you could almost leave it like that, couldn't you? You know, that wouldn't be awful. Now I'm going to bring a line down into the corner of the eye. Like that. And the same on the other side. There we go. Ah, she's cute. And now, same down the other side. I'm going to come down to the other corner. And the other side. And now I think just to finish it, I'm not going to completely outline the eye, because I think it just looks more sort of, I don't know, more artsy if you just do the line slightly sketchy, you know, don't complete the full line. So I'm just going to do a small line underneath here, just part way along. And I could do little lashes from that if I wanted, but I don't think I'm going to. I'm afraid of overdoing it. So let's do the same on the other side. And then a little line over the top here to indicate the eyelid. And the same here. And I think that's enough to show the eye on such a tiny scale as this. I think I'm going to have to do eyebrows. A short straight line there. Same on the other side, although you can, it's amazing how much expression you can get by changing the shape and angle and height of the eyebrows. Now I kind of feel like she does need at least a small indication of a nose, so again I'm going to do a little line, not a straight line. I'm going to do like a really shallow U, just a slight arch in it, like that. And now because I made the silly mistake of doing that black dot in the middle of the lip, I'm going to have to slightly extend that out, otherwise it just looks a bit odd. But I wish I'd done it all in the darker pink now. I think that would have looked better, but hey ho, let's just do this. And then last of all, let's give her some cheeks. And I could definitely just do this with some pigment powder or makeup or something. Kind of feel like I want to try this on the other side. I wonder if it's going to be too much. Am I going to regret that? I'm just going to do it. That's quite cute. Sure, I'll get it in the same place on the other side. So there we go. That's my little cute face. And you can see how you could easily get carried away. You could kind of do a contour down the nose. You could do a bit of shading under the brow bone there. You know. But I'm trying. It is a very small scale doll, so I'm trying to keep it simple. And now I've got my white pen, and I'm just going to put a tiny dot for a highlight in the eye. Same on both sides. Just to bring those little eyes to life, and a little touch on the bottom lip as well. And there she is. Simple. That's taken me like, I don't know what, 10 minutes or something to do. Well, better give you some lips, missus. Let's do them the way I wished I did them last time. So I'm going to, again, even though this is quite sort of comedy nose, I'm still keeping to the rough proportions. So bottom of the chin to the bottom of the nose, halfway down, halfway between the two is where the mouth is going to sit. like I've got a bit more space to play with this one. Give her a bit of shine as well. Just on that where it catches on the bottom lip, and sometimes you just get a bit of highlight on the top of the Cupid's bow. I don't know if my pen is fun enough to do it really, but cute. Let's give her a bit of rosy cheek as well. There she is. It's a bit less Holly Hobby now. Okay, let's move on to the hair. So this particular yarn is already quite inclined to do this. So it's already kind of halfway to being like a tops felting wool. You can do this with all kinds of yarn and you get all sorts of different effects. I think what I'm going to do with the first lot, and it will use up some of these ends I've got from where I was stitching my cardigan up and stuff, I'm going to just brush it out to give me some lengths like this to play with, and I will just felt those directly into the head. You can also do this with a normal hairbrush or a comb, and what you end up with is when you comb it out, you end up with these bits that you pull out of the carding brush. And I think what I'm going to do with it, they're brilliant for, I'll put them in my orts jar, they're brilliant for using for stuffing and all sorts of things. But I think what I'll do is use some of that to felt into the back of the head. Oh, look at her. Oh, excuse me. You got the wrong dress on, Mrs. But what I might do is felt some of this into the back of the head, so that if there are any gaps in the hair that I apply, that's what you'll see, that it won't be so obvious. You won't get like a lump of scalp showing or something. So first thing I've just got to do is comb all of this, and it's really easy to do. You want to be fairly gentle because, you know, you can, especially with this kind of yarn, it's going to tend to, you know, it's going to be easy to comb too much of it out and not end up with with enough left, you know, too much in the brush and not enough left to make the hair with. But with some of the kind of more normal, like I think the ones I've had most success with doing this have been the kind of cheapy acrylic yarns, you know. They work really well for this. You can get lovely doll's hair out of it. You can even carefully use a hair straighteners on it and make it really glossy and lovely. So yeah, I'm going to do this as carefully as I can. It will still, some of it will still be in kind of separate bits like this, because I just think this yarn is quite fragile to do this with. So but where that's the case, it doesn't matter, it will still felt in, I think, fine. So I'm going to do one of them that way, and the other one I'm going to show a different method. And I've just been watching a video with it, because there are just so many, there are hundreds of different ways of doing it. But I want to have a go at this other method because I quite liked the look of it, so I will try that, and I'll link to that video as well, so you can check that one out as well. So what I'm going to do now is sit and get some of this ready. It'll take me a few minutes to do it. I want bits of all these different colours in there, and I'll even use the quite short pieces like this because they can be used at the front. And when I've got enough ready to start felting in, I'll show you. It's ever so easy, as long as you do need a felting needle, but they're not expensive to buy. Combed some of this yarn. You can see I've used quite a bit of it, but not that much. But I've ended up with all of this that I've combed out of it. It occurs to me that I might keep this in a separate bag with my doll stuff, because when I come to do my old lady dolls, I could do some amazing old ladies with incredible candy floss hair. So I think I might keep that separately rather than shove it in with my orts, because it's just beautiful. So I think this is enough just to do the hair on this little one. I think maybe this one first. I'm going to take some of this colourful candy floss and just felt it into the head first, as I say, so that if there are any gaps, it doesn't kind of show scalp. So I can just take this and felt into it just as I would any other shape that I was felting into. It's really easy. See, that's all I've got to do, and that's already fixed straight into the head. Do need to make sure I don't go through to the other side and mess with the shape of the face or anything. And I guess this would be quite a good way to build up short hair as well, wouldn't it? You could, if you had the patience, you could cut quite small tufts and little, sort of felt them in kind of one at a time to create a short hairstyle. So I will have an experiment with that another time as well. So yeah, you can see what I'm doing there. It won't take me long at all to go over and just cover the parts of the head that I want to be covered with hair. So with the one that I showed you just now that I sent to Gabby, I took a little piece at a time like this and felted it in and just kept going all over the head. But I think maybe this time I'm going to keep them in one piece like this. I might even felt them together a little bit first and put them together like this, as if she's got a part in down the middle. There we go. That didn't even take me 5 minutes. So I've just gone all around the area of the head that I want to be covered with hair and given it a thin coat of the fuzz. That bit that I pulled off, I didn't even use all of that, so it didn't take a lot. And now I've got to decide exactly how I want to do this, whether I want to do them as individual pieces going out in all directions, or no, I think this time I want to have it, yeah, I'm gonna do it all in one piece. I love how this looks. It uses so little of my leftover yarn as well. Right, so I'm just going to lay them across there, decide where halfway is, about there I would think. And I'm just going to kind of tack a line down the centre with my felting needle. Or it could be off centre if you wanted it to look more like a side parting. Need to remember to keep lifting it up. You can see I could very easily pull that part again, but I think that's just sort of tacked it together, make it a little bit easier to control. So, oops, which do I want at the front? I think this. Decide where I want the first bit to be, which I think is about there. And that's enough just to tack that into place. And then let's do the back of the neck. And I'm just going to do that same thing, just carefully doing a few pokes, just enough to tack it into place. And now I'm carefully, not going too fast because I want to go back over the same line again and again to make that a nice kind of defined parting line. Obviously, if I wanted to be able to style this hair and put it up in a ponytail and things, I'd want to put another row of hair here as well. Yeah, so it depends on what you want to be able to do with it. I would say if it's a doll that's going to be played with a lot, then this yarn isn't ideal because it's going to come apart too easily. If you brushed it or anything, it would just start to come apart again. I would be better to use a normal yarn for that. Right, I'm just going to go in and do a bit more needling to make sure this is all well attached. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to tie that in bunches. I've got some really narrow ribbons. I got these from Amazon as well. So obviously you need the scale to be tiny. I also managed to get some of this really delicate picot edging, which I'm going to use on her bloomers in the next video. But that would also, as well as an edging, that would be really good if you made the bodice from the pattern the other way round, trimmed so it opens at the front, trimmed those front edges with some of this. This could then be used to lace up. It would be a really nice, easy, pretty way to do a little laced up bodice front, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's quite pricey to get that, actually, I thought, but a little bit of it will go a long way. So what colour should we have? Quite fancy this colour. Let's have a bit of this. Right, I'm going to tie her hair up now and get myself ready for to do the hair on the next doll in a slightly different way. I've done the same thing with adding a little kind of coating of that fluff, just to avoid having any bald spots. And now I'm going to do kind of what the lady, and what's she called? I'm going to link to her. Let me just check what she's called. Sweetbriar, was it? Sweetbriar Sisters is the name of the channel here on YouTube. These stitches in, I'm going to carry on felting in, but I'm going to kind of use her method. So she starts by doing a little section of hair at the front. And she puts pins in where she wants each kind of little lock of hair to go. Now this is quite thick, this yarn, so I'm not going to need as many strands as she did. She was using quite a fine yarn. I think that's enough for the front, and this is assuming a kind of centre parting. Take a length of the wool and wrap it round one of the pins. I hope I'm doing this right. I'm going to make it extend down to sort of the bottom of her skirt. I'll make that my length. Back up and around the pin again, around the next pin rather, bringing it back all down to the same length. Now onto the next pin. I could do 2 wraps, I guess, around each pin as well if I wanted it to look thicker. So that's all I need on that side. What she did was stitch the end of each, just get a needle and thread and stitch the end of each of these loops down, which I could definitely do, but as I've got my felting needle here and I think it's going to be easier, I'm going to felt the ends of these in instead. I'm going to just do the other side first though. So the length from the pin, the length of the yarn is from the pin down to the end of the skirt roughly, and wrap around the pin, and then go up to the next pin and come back down. Next pin and back down. Wrap around and up to the last pin and back down. Got a feeling I've maybe made those slightly shorter this time, but it's not going to matter because they're too long anyway. That's got both sides of that front section of hair. And now I'm going to hold them all like that, and I'm going to start felting them in. So this is kind of, I'm doing my take on that lady's method. This is a bit different way of doing it, but I liked the idea of using the pins to place where you want the hair. So once I've anchored that bit enough, I can take that pin out and move on to the next one. And now I'm just going to do some little stabs to make sure this is all properly anchored in. So if I did this with a different kind of yarn, I could leave the yarn as it is. I could use quite fine wool as well. I could do as beaded and kind of just untwist the yarn and get that little crinkly effect. But this kind of yarn, it's not going to work so well doing that, but there we go. So I can now, later on, once I'm done, I'll cut through all these loops and cut everything level and arrange the hair. So that's the front section of the hair done. So, you know, if you hadn't got a felting needle, you definitely could stitch it in. But you can see how quick that was. We need to do some straight rows across the back. What that lady did as well, instead of felting in a covering like this, she wound some threads just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. She put pins all down here, pins down here, wound the thread back and forth, and anchored it with little stitches at either end. But again, it was easier for me to just do this. That's so quick. So now the idea is to do rows of, I don't need to worry about this section, this will be covered by that front section that we've already made. So all I need to worry about now is doing some rows of hair going across the whole head. If you were just going to tie it in a ponytail, you could probably just do one row all the way around here now and put it back in a ponytail, and you've got this front section as well, because you're never going to see the bit in the middle. But my pins aren't very close together because it's this really fat yarn. Obviously the funner the yarn, the more. I don't need to go all the way up there because that's going to be covered by the front bit. Yeah, so I think I just need to do lines like that. I'll probably do one, maybe two more lines right the way across. Take that yarn down from the bottom of the skirt as my guide, over the pin, back down again, up and over the pin, and back down, all the way along. And again, either just put a little stitch in at the top of each of those loops, or felt them. I'm going to felt again. So I'm going to do that and do at least one more row, possibly two. And then I'm done with this. It's ever so easy, isn't it? Right, I'm nearly done. This has proved very easy to do. I've just ended up with a couple of little gaps though, which probably could be covered up by the front portion of the hair, but I think I'm just going to fill them. So I've cut just some separate lengths of the yarn. I'm just folding it over and taking the loop end and just popping it down where I want to fill in. I'm felting it in, but again you could be stitching that in instead. So but if you're going to get into doing doll making, though, a couple of felting needles would be a very worthwhile investment. They're pretty reasonable to buy. Another one in here. This is going to be a very full head of hair, but I'll be able to style it in whichever way I like without worrying about any bald patches. I just want to put a couple more along here because you can see it looks fine if I bunch that up that way round, but there I've got a bit of a gap, so I'm just going to put, I think that needs a few along there. You can see that's quite nicely covered all the way round. There's that front section. Wherever I part it, it's not all kind of gappy. And if there was a little gap, show me, like there we go, there's a little gap. You can't see naked scalp. It's got that fluff that I felted in first, so it's not going to be so obvious. Right, so I'm going to snip through all the loops here, cut this all to the same length, and then I'm done with them. Trimmed all that, cut all the loops. Here's my two little girls all done. Let's get my muggins out of the way so we can get a thumbnail. So here they are with their faces and their hair at last. They have very different personalities. So if I did that in a different kind of yarn and untwizzled it all, I could end up with an effect very like this. It just depends on what kind of yarn you're using. And really, that was only using that leftover bit. I only had to take those last little few extra pieces were the only ones that had to actually come off the ball. So that little piece that I showed you in the first place was all I needed to do both the hair, so it doesn't take much. But yeah, two really different ways of doing the faces and two different ways of doing the hair, but there are just hundreds of them. If you search on YouTube, you'll find all sorts of different ways to do it. So that's it from me today. I will be back. The next and last video in this little doll making series is going to be making the bonnet, boots and bloomers, which, as I mentioned earlier on, can be adapted to turn into a hat, trousers, knickers. You know, you can adapt them. They'll all be available on Gumroad to download as well. So I should be back with them. If not next week, it'll definitely be the week after. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please keep sharing pictures of any dolls that you're making. It's been lovely to see some of them being shared in the Facebook group and Discord community. As always, at the end of my videos now, I'd like to say a huge thank you to my lovely channel members. There are 37 now. They'll be scrolling up here as we speak. If you're interested in joining as a channel member and supporting us in that way, there's a little button down here somewhere that says join. If you click on that, it will pop up a window that will tell you all about it. But please don't worry if you're not up for it or not able to. It's not a problem at all. The Discord community and the Facebook group will continue to be free to join, so that you'll still be part of the community. The content isn't going to change. We just are planning a lot of little extra perks just as a thank you to those of you who choose to support us in that way. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you very much. And I also appreciate all of you just for taking the time to watch, leave a comment, like, subscribe. Subscribing is still free, of course, so all of that is very much appreciated as well. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.